ideas, and he was sort of sparked simultaneously in the study of his work by a mycologist from the London Museum of Botany or whatever.
Sure.
Dr. Ramsbottom, and at the same time, or actually sort of later, at Gordon Wasson's publication of Soma, and also Mushrooms, Russia, and History.
Yeah.
And so Allegro started looking at these ideas of other cultures that used psychedelics for religious purposes and seeing if they fit into Christianity through language.
Interesting, and this, of course, ties back to the writings of the Bible also with the thing called manna, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And what we talk about in our book is that there were likely two types of manna. The manna in the so-called desert that the Jews fleeing Egypt found traveling the desert. And but what we found is, looking up that word, is that the word that's translated as wilderness or desert there is actually a cow pasture.
Oh.
or a field where cattle are driven, as Strong's Concordance translates it. So suddenly, instead of a desert, and a lot of people were having problems with the idea of Amanita muscaria, the red and white spotted mushroom being manna, for that is reasonable, actually, because when we get in there and look at that word and see it as cow pasture, it would obviously become a psilocybe-based mushroom that would be the manna of the wilderness years. However, that would be a little bit different. We also mention in our book that there is the hidden manna, and we think that is the hidden manna mentioned in Revelation, and we think that is the Amanita muscaria that is found underneath the pine trees and coniferous trees, like we find the brightly colored packages underneath the Christmas tree at Christmas time.
Yeah, that is a fascinating connection, and we could go in two directions here, I guess. And the first one, of course, is the correlation between Jesus and sun worship and of the winter solstice and so forth, and the other one is connecting Christianity and especially Christmas to the mushroom itself. And is there where do you want to go, so to speak?
Well, let's start with the astronomical aspects of the Jesus character.
Yeah.
If we think of Jesus as a sun character, just like Mithra and Horus and Krishna and Buddha before him as Acharya and Kersey Graves and Gerald Macy and many other researchers have put out, Manly Hall as well.
Yeah.
That these characters are all representations of the death and rebirth of the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is born on December 25th and begins heading north again 1 degree each day after December 25th. And December 25th should actually be considered the real New Year's Day, because that's the day that the sun, as I just mentioned, begins heading north again. Days are actually degrees. So each day is a degree of the movement of the sun across the sky. And so what we have is actually from the summer solstice, typically around June 21st, from the summer solstice, the sun falls into the fall or autumn 1 degree each day towards the south. If we were to look east out our window every morning, we would notice that each day the sun rises on the horizon 1 degree closer to the south.
Yeah.
And but what happens is the sun doesn't immediately bounce back on December 25th. On the winter solstice, December 21st, the sun actually stops, or is said to be in a tomb for 3 days. The sun doesn't rise over the horizon. It's not 1 degree further south or to the north for 3 days. It's in the same position, so it's dead. The sun is in a tomb.
Yeah.
And on the morning of December 25th, the sun starts its trek 1 degree back towards the north again for the next 6 months. And then the cycle repeats itself. Excuse me. So with this cycle, inside the cycle, there's other things that we consider in the ancient mythological religious tales about the wise men, or the 3 wise men, and the 3 wise men being the belt of Orion, and as the Christmas song goes, westward leading, still preceding, not following. So preceding is something that comes before.
Yeah.
And so the 3 wise men are actually preceding the sun, God's son, to be born on the morning of December 25th, the sun in the sky.
Yeah.
And so the 3 wise men point to the exact place on the horizon where the sun will rise, on the evening of December 24th. The 3 wise men point down to where the sun will rise early in the morning on December 25th. And but before the sun rises, another thing also happens in the sky, and that is Virgo, where the 3 wise men point to is actually the star Sirius will come up over the horizon, and then about midnight, obviously depending annually, but typically around midnight, Virgo will pop her head over the horizon. And if you continually follow the line down from the belt of Orion, or the 3 wise men, what happens is this place that the 3 wise men point to, in alignment with the star Sirius, is exactly where the sun is born underneath the constellation Virgo, the Virgin's legs. So we have the astronomical tale of the sun being born of a virgin, the constellation Virgo, on December 25th. And so that's where this tale is founded in, is astrotheological knowledge.
Yeah.
And 9 months before the sun is born on December 25th, we celebrate something called Easter. And Easter is the inception of the sun 9 months later. And we know when it's Easter by waiting for the spring equinox, which is typically March 20th or 21st. And then we wait for the first full paschal moon, and then Easter falls on the following sun day.
Yeah.
So, that's, and then 9 months later, the sun is born on December 25th, and the cycle repeats itself.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that you guys mentioned in your lecture about Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. And I find it interesting because, allegedly there was, previous to Christianity, there was, Rome had the Mithra worship and other sun deities. And do you think that it's just a translation of that applied to the creation of the Jesus myth, so to speak, or what do you think is about?
No, basically, at what we feel is that at the Council of Nicaea, the bishops and scholars of the world got together and they created what is now called the Catholic, or Catholic actually means universal church.
Yeah.
And they brought together over 300 of the world's leading religious scholars at the time, and from Hindu and Vedic and Zoroastrian and Judaic and you name it.
Yeah.
And basically canonized the story, created what is called the Nicene Creed, which is basically just a list of what Christians are to believe and hold true as far as Christ. And they're all things that are taken from other prior religions based on this sun worship tale.
Yeah. And of course, this you mentioned earlier terms as precession and the age of Aquarius, of course, which you theorize in your lecture that the representation here of the Jesus story is basically about the Piscean age, or the age of Pisces, and now of course we are going into the next phase. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about just precession and how do you know how it works?
Well, the precession of the equinox is something that's not talked about often enough. Outside of our solar year, which lasts 365 days, there is a great year that most people don't even know exists, and that is called the precession of the equinoxes. And one trip through the precession of the equinoxes takes 25,800 years, and is broken down into 12 segments, just like the zodiac is broken into 12 segments.
Yeah.
That are called ages. So the zodiac has its monthly procession, or moving forward through the animal constellations, but on the precession of the equinoxes, it actually moves backward through the constellations. And what that means is that if you measure at the spring equinox, where the sun rises directly to the east, every year it's slightly off. It doesn't raise quite in the same place. And so what happens is, over 25,800 years, there is a backward rotation through the zodiac where the sun rises at the spring equinox.
Yeah.
And so in various ancient cultures, this knowledge was well known and observed. Some argue at least 1,000 years before Christianity, but we think it goes much further back than that. There's a wonderful book out called Hamlet's Mill that goes into the history of the precession of the equinoxes. But what we found, and which concurs with Acharya S. and Jordan Maxwell and a lot of the other researchers, is that this age that the sun is born in, and it's each of the 12 periods or ages, is 2,150 years. So this division of 12, the ages, would be a macrocosmic representation to our monthly zodiac sign, or it's basically a 30-day month is a small representation of this huge month in the heavens, which lasts 2,150 years in age.
Yeah.
And so if we go far enough back and we look at the age of Apis, the bull, and the bull symbolism in Hinduism, it's a little over 6,000 years ago, and that's the age of Taurus. And then we move 2,150 years, and these ages are approximate. They're not divided evenly because the zodiac signs aren't matched by perfect degrees of separation. So going 2,150 years forward, we reach the age of Aries, and the Jews blow the shofar, the ram's horn, in honor of the ram, and Moses had the ram's horns on his head, which were symbolic of Aries, and that has sort of been misadopted as a symbol for